The wind screamed across the frozen valley like a living thing. The small human outpost, built from metal and stone, stood alone in the middle of endless white plains. Inside, Ethan worked beside his small shuttle, trying to fix the power unit that had stopped working again. The planet's weather was cruel, and the temperature could drop faster than any human could survive without protection. He had been stationed there for repairs, but the storm outside had trapped him for 2 days straight. When the storm sensors started beeping, Ethan frowned. The readings were strange. There was movement out there, something alive in the snow. At first he thought it was an animal, but the signals showed humanoid patterns. No human could survive that cold without shelter, and this world was supposed to be empty. He put on his heavy coat, pulled his hood tight, and stepped outside into the storm. The cold bit into his face like needles, and the wind almost pushed him off his feet. But the signal was close, less than a kilometer away. He pushed forward, every step sinking deep into the thick snow. His boots crunched through ice, and his breath came out in white clouds. After 10 long minutes, he saw something lying near a broken metal pod half buried in the snow. His first thought was that it was a child. The figure was small, curled up, shaking violently. He ran toward it and fell to his knees beside her. When he brushed the snow away, his heart stopped. She wasn't human. Her skin was pale silver, like moonlight reflecting off metal. Her hair was long and white, spreading out across the snow like silk. Her eyes, half open, glowed faintly blue before closing again. She looked weak, trembling, her lips blue with cold. She was still breathing, but barely. Ethan didn't think. He took off his heavy coat and wrapped it around her. "Hey, it's okay," he said softly, though she probably couldn't understand him. "You're safe now. I got you." He lifted her carefully. She was light, far lighter than a human, and her skin was cold as ice. As he carried her back through the storm, she made a small sound, a whisper in a language he didn't recognize. Her hand gripped his sleeve weakly, as if afraid he might disappear. When he reached the shelter, he laid her on his bed and quickly started the heater. The warm air filled the small room, and steam rose from the snow melting off their clothes. Ethan checked her for injuries, but there were none, only signs of deep cold. He rubbed her hands gently to restore warmth. Her skin shimmered faintly where his hands touched, like liquid light beneath the surface. He sat beside her, watching her breathe. Who was she? Where had she come from? The broken pod outside looked alien, maybe part of a bigger ship that crashed during the storm. He glanced at the communicator inside the pod. It was damaged, and the language on it was unlike anything in the human fleet's database. Hours passed. The storm outside raged on, but inside the small room glowed with the soft hum of the heater. Ethan made soup from his emergency rations and placed a small bowl near her when she finally stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faintly in the dim light. For a moment she looked frightened, then confused. He smiled gently. "You're safe. You were freezing out there. Drink this." She didn't seem to understand his words, but she took the bowl with shaking hands. When she drank, her breathing steadied and color returned to her face, or at least what counted as color for her kind. "Name?" he asked, pointing at himself. "Ethan." She blinked, then pointed at herself. "Lyra." Her voice was soft and musical, with a strange echo to it, like two tones speaking at once. "Lyra," he repeated. "Nice to meet you, Lyra." She gave a faint, tired smile. Over the next few hours, they spoke in broken words, gestures, and drawings. She pointed to the sky, saying a word that sounded like Vareth. He guessed that was her homeworld. She also said mother and danger, then pressed her hand to her chest and shook her head as if saying she was running from something. Ethan didn't press her. She was exhausted, frightened, and far from home. All he could do was make her feel safe. That night, the storm began to fade. The sound of wind softened, and the stars appeared outside through the cracks in the clouds. Ethan sat near the small heater while Lyra slept under his coat. She looked peaceful now, her face calm, her silver hair glowing faintly in the soft light. He couldn't help but notice how strange yet beautiful she was. There was something otherworldly about her presence, something delicate, almost regal. He leaned back and sighed. "You must have one wild story, kid," he whispered. But the calm didn't last. Near midnight, his communicator beeped. A signal, weak but constant, was being sent from the broken pod. Ethan went to check it. The alien device had come alive on its own. Strange glyphs appeared on its small screen, and before he could shut it off, a hologram flickered to life. The image showed a tall figure, draped in gold armor and a long robe of dark light. Her eyes glowed brighter than Lyra's, and her voice, though distorted by static, was powerful and commanding. "Find the lost heir," the voice said. "Return her alive. No one must know. The Queen's orders are absolute." Then the signal vanished and the device went dark again. Ethan stood frozen. He looked back at Lyra, sleeping peacefully. "Heir," he muttered. "Queen?" He didn't know much about alien politics, but this sounded serious. If her people were looking for her, they'd track the signal. And if they were the kind of empire that had a queen giving orders like that, then he was in serious trouble. He moved fast, shutting down all outgoing transmissions, jamming signals, and covering the small window. He didn't want anyone finding them, not yet. The next morning, the sky was finally clear. The sun, weak and pale, cast long shadows over the snow. Lyra woke up feeling stronger. She stood near the door, looking outside with wide eyes full of wonder. She touched the frost on the glass like she had never seen snow before. Ethan smiled. "It's beautiful, huh?" She nodded, smiling shyly. "Cold, but pretty." Her words were slow and broken, but she was learning. She pointed to the pot outside and then to the sky again. "Mother angry?" she said softly, looking down. "Big ships come soon." Ethan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. "Your mother is coming here?" She nodded again. Her eyes looked distant, almost sad. "Mother is queen. No, won't go back. Now everything made sense." The air of a queen, the order to bring her back alive. The hologram hadn't been just any call, it was a royal command. And he had just hidden the daughter of an alien queen known across the stars. He rubbed his forehead and laughed under his breath. "Of course. I save a random girl in the snow, and she turns out to be the daughter of a galactic ruler. Just my luck." Lyra tilted her head, confused at his words, but smiled faintly when he smiled back. Later, Ethan tried to repair her communicator. He hoped to learn more about her people, maybe even find a safe way to send her home. But as he worked, the communicator flickered again, this time showing a red warning signal. A pulse of energy shot into the sky before he could stop it. "Damn it," he cursed softly. Lyra looked at him with worry. "They know," she whispered. "Mother's soldiers come." Ethan looked out the window. High above, he saw faint streaks of light moving through the clouds, ships entering the atmosphere. His stomach turned cold. There was no time to run, no place to hide. He grabbed his pack and handed her his coat again. "Stay behind me, all right? I'll figure something out." She looked up at him, her eyes wide with fear. "They hurt you if find me." He smiled slightly. "Yeah, I figured. But I'm not letting them take you without trying." She hesitated, then reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were warm now, pulsing softly with light. "You good human," she said quietly. "Not like stories." Ethan squeezed her hand. "Stories are overrated." Outside, engines roared in the distance, growing louder every second. The ground began to tremble as alien craft broke through the clouds, leaving trails of fire across the morning sky. Ethan stood by the door, watching the first of the dark shapes descend over the snowfields. Lyra stood beside him, clutching his coat close to her body. The look in her eyes was not just fear, it was sorrow. "Mother come," she whispered. "If she see you, bad happen." He looked at her, then at the ships above. "Let her come," he said quietly. "You're not alone this time." Lyra stared at him for a long moment, her eyes shining like glass in the sunlight. She didn't understand why a stranger from another species would risk himself for her. But in that moment, she believed him. As the alien ships began to land in the snow outside, the valley filled with blinding light. Soldiers in silver armor stepped out, forming ranks. One of them held a device scanning the ground, and it was pointed directly toward Ethan's shelter. Lyra's breathing quickened. She looked up at him and whispered, "Please, don't fight." "I not want you die," Ethan's heart pounded. "I'm not planning to die. But if they want you, they'll have to go through me first." The soldiers began to move forward through the snow. The sound of their boots echoed across the valley. Ethan stood ready, shielding the trembling alien girl behind him, still unaware of just how powerful her mother truly was, or how this one act of kindness would soon change the fate of two worlds. The alien soldiers marched through the snow with perfect precision. Their armor shimmered in the pale sunlight, and the edges of their weapons glinted sharply. Ethan stood firm at the doorway, keeping Lyra close behind him. She wrapped her small hands around his coat, trembling but trusting him completely. He could see it in her eyes. She believed he could protect her. The leader of the squad stepped forward, a tall figure with glowing eyes similar to Lyra's. He raised his arm and a calm but commanding voice spoke. "Step aside, human. The child is royal. You have no right to interfere." Ethan shook his head. "I don't care what she is. She's hurt, she's scared, and she needs protection. I won't let you take her unless she wants to go." The alien paused as if surprised by his words. It was rare for a human to speak without fear, especially against their queen's soldiers. He could see a flicker of hesitation, but it didn't last. The squad advanced carefully but steadily. Ethan stepped forward, placing himself between Lyra and them. "Stay behind me," he said quietly. Lyra nodded, her glowing eyes wide. He felt her tiny hand squeeze his arm. He couldn't let anything happen to her. Not after finding her in the storm, shivering and alone. Suddenly, a massive shadow fell over them. Ethan looked up and froze. A ship descended from the sky, larger than any he had ever seen. Its hull was dark, polished, and reflected the snow around it. A ramp extended and figures stepped out, tall, majestic, and unmistakably royal. At the front was a woman whose presence made the soldiers pause. Her armor was golden, and her long hair shimmered in sunlight. Her eyes were sharp, glowing with authority and power. Ethan's breath caught. He recognized her instantly from the hologram, the Queen. She moved forward slowly, her gaze fixed on Lyra. The soldiers stopped, standing perfectly still. The Queen raised a hand and the air seemed to hum with energy. "Lyra," she said, her voice rich and commanding, "return to me." Lyra took a step back, hiding behind Ethan's legs. I don't want to go," she said softly. "Please don't make him fight." The Queen's eyes softened for a brief moment and then hardened again. "You cannot hide from your duty, child. You are my heir, and your place is by my side. Your safety has been my priority, but you must obey now." Ethan felt his heart pound. He didn't know what to do. If he stepped in front of her, it could provoke the Queen's wrath. If he stayed still, the soldiers might try to take Lyra. He needed a plan, but he had only minutes. Lyra looked up at him, eyes filled with fear and hope. "Please," she whispered. "Help me." Ethan took a deep breath. "All right," he said. "But you'll have to trust me. No one will hurt you while I'm here." The Queen's gaze shifted between Lyra and Ethan. Then she did something unexpected. She spoke to the soldiers in a language Ethan didn't understand. The soldiers froze, then lowered their weapons. It was clear they were waiting for her command, but they were hesitant. Lyra tilted her head, confused. "Mother?" she asked. The Queen stepped closer, her eyes never leaving Lyra. "I see you have learned something from the human," she said slowly, almost as if speaking to herself. "Compassion, care, courage, traits I never taught you." Ethan realized she was speaking about him. She wasn't angry at Lyra, and she wasn't immediately attacking him either. There was curiosity in her tone, mingled with pride and something else he couldn't identify. Lyra took a small step forward. He saved me," she said quietly. "He didn't care I'm royal. He only wanted me to live." The Queen studied Ethan, her glowing eyes piercing through his soul. "You are a human," she said. "You have risked your life for my daughter. Such bravery. It is unusual." Ethan swallowed hard. I couldn't leave her out there," he admitted. "It's not about bravery. She needed help." For a long moment the Queen said nothing. Then slowly she extended her hand toward Lyra. "Come to me, child. You must not hide from your responsibilities." Lyra shook her head. "I can't, not yet." "Please, Mother. He kept me safe. I don't want him hurt." The Queen's expression softened further, almost as if she was seeing the universe through her daughter's eyes for the first time. She turned back to Ethan. "You have protected her when no one else would. That is rare among humans. Most would have fled or obeyed without question." Ethan looked at her. "I'm not most humans. I protect those who cannot protect themselves." The Queen's soldiers lowered their weapons completely now, forming a respectful circle around them. The Queen raised her voice, commanding the air itself. "Very well. He will not be harmed. But know this. If any danger comes to her under his care, there will be consequences far beyond your understanding." Ethan nodded. "Understood." Lyra's hand found his again. "Thank you," she whispered, her glowing eyes shining with relief. The Queen studied them both, then gestured for the soldiers to step back. She turned her gaze toward the horizon, where more ships had appeared. The galaxy is not yet calm. You have protected her here, human. But the path ahead will not be easy. Prepare yourselves. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. He wasn't just facing a queen now, he was part of something far larger than himself. Yet he didn't hesitate. He knew he had to stay by Lyra's side. Lyra looked at the queen and then back at him. Will she leave us alone? She asked. Ethan shrugged. For now, but it's only the beginning. You're a royal heir, Lyra. That means people will always want you, either to control you or to protect you, and we're in the middle of it. The queen's ship began to rise, engines lifting them effortlessly above the valley. Lyra watched it go with a mix of awe and fear. Ethan put a comforting hand on her shoulder. You'll be safe here, at least for a little while, he said. We can figure out the next step together. Days passed. The storm had cleared, leaving the world covered in sparkling ice and snow. Ethan taught Lyra how to survive in the harsh environment, how to repair simple devices, and how to communicate using the broken translator they salvaged from her pod. She was a quick learner, and with every passing day her fear faded, replaced by trust and curiosity. She began to laugh softly at small jokes Ethan made, and sometimes she helped him with repairs, using her delicate hands to manipulate tools with surprising skill. One morning, as the sun reflected off the ice like a million tiny stars, Lyra approached Ethan. I want to see my homeworld, she said quietly. Ethan nodded. We will, but first we need to make sure it's safe. You can't go back yet, not with the Queen's fleet out there and others who might come looking for you. She looked down, conflicted. I don't want to fight. I just want to live. But my people, they need me. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to decide that alone. We'll find a way together. That night, as they prepared for another storm that had begun to brew, a small signal appeared on the repaired communicator. It was a message from the Queen, short, direct, and unmistakable. You have proven loyalty and care. Continue to protect my daughter. The galaxy watches. Ethan looked at Lyra, who was staring at the device in wonder. See, he said gently. You're important. More than you know. She looked up at him, a small smile forming. You saved me again. Not just from the storm. From them. Ethan smiled back, shaking his head. It wasn't just me. You trusted me. That mattered too. Outside, the wind howled and the snow swirled in blinding white. Inside, the small shelter felt warm and safe. A tiny island of security in a world full of unknown dangers. Ethan sat by the heater, and Lyra curled up beside him under the heavy coat. The faint glow of her skin illuminated the room softly, and he realized how fragile yet powerful she truly was. He didn't know what the future held, if the Queen would send forces again, or if other threats would come, but for now, they were together, and sometimes that was enough. The storm outside raged, but inside trust and courage grew. A human and an alien girl wrapped together in a coat, shared warmth and protection, unaware of how this small act of kindness would one day change the fate of her empire, and perhaps the galaxy itself. The night stretched on, silent except for the faint hum of the heater, and the sound of two beings breathing together bound by trust, compassion, and the beginnings of an unspoken bond that neither fully understood. But both would rely on when the storms of the galaxy came again.